In this video, we're going to be cleaning these steps up and putting down a stampable cement overlay. Let's get started, and if you guys have any ideas or comments, don't forget to leave them below. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. I hope you enjoy the video.
That's really dirty, eh?
Okay, the surface is all washed and a tiny bit damp, and now I'm applying a primer to the existing concrete. So the trick with this is just getting it on everywhere, making sure that the whole thing is primed. After applying the primer, we allow it to dry. The product that I'm using is Butterfield's Stampable Overlay, or otherwise known as T1000. And I'm mixing it up. Here I go. I'm starting to float it out. So the first one came out a little bit drier than I would want. The one change that I made was adding a little bit more water to get that trowelable consistency. Although I really like this this dryness, it was a bit harder to work with, but it started to set up quite a bit better because we were working in the shade. So we had to wait a little bit longer to stamp this. Essentially, the way that I applied this was I troweled it out to the point where I was getting about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thickness. And by doing that, it's just experience for me. I know how thick it is just using the steel trowel. And with this stuff, you can use a steel trowel to float it out like that. Because it's a stampable overlay, you want it to be thick enough that the stamp, when you're stamping it, doesn't just go right down to the existing concrete. You want to make sure that the stampable overlay is essentially just setting in a little bit on the surface so that you can get the impression consistency that you're looking for. Now, if I was to do this one again, I would probably get my bowl float and hit that top section one more time before stamping. But eventually I went over this 2 times and I did spray it with a little bit of water. I wanted it to be a little bit more smooth than what it was coming out. There is like an aggregate in this mix. It's actually a really interesting cement overlay mix, and it sets up pretty fast. Even when you're mixing it, it already starts setting up. So I would really recommend using this stuff in the shade and really early in the morning. Even doing this at like 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. You want Okay, so what I'm using here is a Chapman pump sprayer, and I've added a bubblegum release agent from Brickform. This is a clear release agent. It's great for stamping concrete because you can see your impressions right away. It allows you to work with it in a certain way that helps you see that pattern as it goes down, so you can get a better finish on it. And what I'm doing is I'm just priming these mats. These are the texture mats I'm using, and they're an old granite texture. What I'm going to do is just set that one down on the step so that I can walk up here to the top. And now I'm going to take down this mat, and I'm just going to lay it down similar to the way a helicopter lands. I'm going to fold it in half and set it straight down. And when I'm done stamping with it, I pick it straight up. The trick with this stuff is to make sure you're not dragging them around on the surface. You're essentially tiptoeing onto the concrete pad with these things. You want to get that nice impression, virtually molding it from the surface down. Yeah, so now what I'm doing is I'm stamping it with this tamper, and I'm just going to get a nice impression on there. Making sure that I get every single square inch of these mats. Every time I move them, I'm making sure that I'm checking these mats. Yeah, looks good. Okay, move on to the next section. The key to success when you're stamping overlays is that you want to make sure that you have enough thickness. You don't want to be cheap and just scrape it on just to get it on there. getting some good thickness on there, and that way your stamp can sit in there nicely. Now, if I wanted to, you could always use like a board formed finish, or like a pattern finish on this. And then you can even like color some borders. There's a lot you can do with these stampable overlays. The big thing is you don't have a lot of time to work with it, especially in the sunlight. Like, I don't know, I haven't really used it much in the sunlight, but maybe I'll do an episode on that to show you guys how fast this stuff sets up. But yeah, it's super strong, and it holds up really well to foot traffic, salt, and winters in Canada. So yeah, and then you can also go back and color it. You can use a Easy Teak water-based stain on top of here after. Same idea, you put it in the pump sprayer and you spray it on. And what it does is the color settles down into the low spots and gives you a really nice texture. Now, if you're interested in learning more, I do offer seasonal workshops to learn how to do all kinds of concrete finishes. So go to my website, theartofconcrete.ca. I'll leave a link up above for you to check it out. And we do also offer concrete contracting services in Ontario, Canada, more specifically Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, and Guelph. So yeah, check out my website and some of the work that we've done, theartofconcrete.ca. Okay, so let's jump back into this. So now I'm just rotating these stamps around, making sure that the stamp texture isn't repeating itself. It's constantly rotating so that the texture can change. So it looks more real and it looks like stone. Okay, so a quick recap. We washed it. We primed it using Brickform's primer that goes with the stampable overlay. We used the T1000 Brickform stampable overlay. Then I used the bubblegum stamp release agent and the old granite stamps here with the rubber tamper. So that's kind of what we did to get to this point right now. We ended up using 4 bags on this project here. I believe this was approximately 3.5 bags of the stampable overlay. All right, guys, I want to know who else has used this T1000 and what your thoughts were on it. What do you think about the T1000? And if there's other products that are stampable like this, I would love to know what else is out there, because, man, this product is expensive. I think it was 5 bags with 2 primers was like $700 Canadian. And this is just bags of cement. So I don't really see where the costs are for this, and I find it very unreasonable how much they're charging for these products. And yeah, that's Brickform that's charging this. So guys, if there's anything else on the market, I would love to know about it and try it out. So now what I'm doing still is I'm applying the release agent. So this is the clear release agent. I'm spraying it down real good, and then I'm going to take the stamps and just texturize that top of the step there. The same thing. The real trick is, especially with these edge mats, is going straight to the back of the step and then also keeping that straight lined edge off of that top of that concrete. So you can see me laying it down. That line isn't laying in the concrete there, I'm sorry, the cement overlay. It's on the edge there. The reason for that is when you stamp that line in, that's a permanent line. So we don't want to have that. We want to have a nice seamless texture and a consistent surface on here. So I flip it back, do that back edge real nice, lift it up just like a helicopter, flip it, front edge, yeah, tamping every area. Now it was great because this stuff's set up similar to concrete. I would say the wonderful thing about this was it was just the same as working with concrete here. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But the price, man, the price is just way too much. So I just don't know how much more of these kind of projects I'd want to do. On this project, I chose not to stamp the faces of the steps. I didn't really like the way that the stampable overlay was working on the front of the steps. It just was drooping a lot. It didn't really hold on to the surface similar to a parging mix or anything like that. So I chose not to stamp that face. Now, if you guys have another option, or maybe there's something that I don't know about, I would love to hear it with the T1000 stampable overlay. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe, hit the notifications button, leave a comment. I would love to know what you think about this, and also check out my website for more of our finished work, theartofconcrete.ca. Thanks for watching, and take care.